Welcome back to the Sensitivity Doctor. Today I have the brilliant Dr. David Rosmarin, who is a repeat guest to the podcast. And he is one of the most world-renowned experts on anxiety. And what I love about this conversation is he takes something that is natural and normal that we all experience and give you actionable steps on how to handle it. 4 steps. They're going to lead you from being overcome by your anxiety to being empowered by your anxiety. Because anxiety sometimes really can be a motivator, and it can do great things for us when we know how to handle it. Now, this is not to say that there are not certain situations, diagnoses, or people who really do need other supports. So I hope any of you listening who have a diagnosis of generalized anxiety or really truly need things like psychopharmacology or other methods, please know that this episode is also for you, because what can apply to all of us can also help those who are struggling the most with anxiety. So I hope from this episode, you're able to go out into the world and not only be empowered by your anxiety, but feel resilient and know how to handle and reach out for the right supports. I just want to thank Dr. Rosmarin again for taking the time to share these 4 steps with all of you. And I truly believe they're going to help you with your anxiety today. I hope you enjoy the episode. Thanks for coming. I'm so excited to have you here.
Sure.
You have been on quite a whirlwind talking about your 4-step method and kind of, like you said, really packaging and making all the things from your great book be so usable for people. So
Thank
I'm
you.
really honored you're back. I'm just so happy to see you and see how you've been doing and talk about your plan. So you have the 4-step method. It's really simple yet super powerful. Could you just let's just jump right in and start with what it is, because I have so many questions about how to apply it.
Sure.
I figured it'd be a great root system to guide us on our way.
Absolutely. So I went into the field of clinical psychology more than 2 decades ago and really went on a mission to help as many people as possible with anxiety. Started the Center for Anxiety, which has treated more than 10,000 patients. And here at McLean Hospital in Massachusetts, associated with Harvard Medical School, I've been doing research and also seen many thousands of individuals in acute psychiatric crisis. And at some point over the last couple of years, I realized that no matter how much work I do in the clinical space, it's just not going to be enough. Something has to shift with our culture's approach to anxiety. And the good news is we do have simple, actionable, clear ways of not only dealing with anxiety and getting it less of a problem, but actually using it and harnessing the positive aspects of anxiety. I do want to be clear, though, at the outset that some people do need clinical help, whether that's pharmacology or whether that's therapy or whether that's a combination or even neurotherapeutics like ketamine or TMS or electroconvulsive therapy, or whatever it is. There certainly is a very important place for all the methods that I've used over the last 2 decades and that my colleagues use on a daily basis. And if anxiety is interfering in your life, if it's a clinical disorder, then these 4 steps are maybe helpful, but they're not going to be enough.
Right.
So I want to make it clear at the outset, this is not a replacement for therapy, but I do think we're overusing therapy today. For people who don't have clinical anxiety that's not interfering, it's uncomfortable. I don't like feeling anxious. You don't like feeling anxious. No one does. And there's a lot we can do that doesn't require professional help in order to deal with and actually use anxiety in a constructive way. And that's how I came up with the 4 steps.
Mm-hmm. So your steps, if you could go through what each of them are, and I had a very specific question. I have something that I wanted to pick your brain on about step 1.
Okay.
Something I love about step 2. Okay. Something I can totally relate to with step 3. And then a curiosity with step 4. So I really have things that I'm excited to unpack with you. What are just very basically what the 4 steps are?
Great. Step 1 is to identify. Step 2 is to share. Step 3 is to embrace. And step 4 is to let go. Identify, share, embrace, and let go.
Okay.
And truly, if I could distill 25 years of clinical work and research into everything I know about anxiety, that would be it.
So when is the time that you use those 4 steps for yourself, and what did
Every day.
that look like?
every
Every day. Okay. So maybe
every
today.
Today, I used step 2 a lot with my wife. We had
Okay.
a long conversation this morning. And step 1 was earlier that week when I was really trying to figure out what am I anxious about. That was Tuesday night. Something was bothering me for a week. Step 3 is definitely every day, embracing and learning to, to use it for resilience. And step 4 is something I struggle with, but something I'm learning to do. Um,
Okay.
I can take you through them in a little more detail.
Yeah, I would love
Yeah.
that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So step 1 is to identify. Most of the time when we feel anxious, it has so much stigma, anxiety today, and we think something's wrong with us. We've been trained to view all anxiety as a disorder and as a disease. So the minute we feel it, we try to squelch it, get rid of it, medicate it away. And there could be a place and a time for those, but as an immediate approach to dealing with any level of anxiety, it makes it worse.
Right.
So the first step is to just identify, what are you feeling anxious about? It is the simplest question, but it's a hard question because you have to sit with the actual feelings for more than a minute.
Right.
Like, what's really this about? Are you afraid of? Usually it boils down to 2 things, by the way: failure or being alone in
Okay.
any domain, whether that's financial, professional, or, and being alone has more social qualities to this.
Right. Okay. And then step 2.
Step 2. So once you've figured out what it is, and if you're not sure, then take a break, like take a walk, go for it, think about it, speak into your voice recorder, just about everything that's making you anxious, like just brain dump and like get it out. And then it's sort of like, oh, that's what I'm anxious about. But you got to take
Right.
the time. Got to take a little time and do it. Share. Identify. That's identify. 2, share. Once you identify what it is, don't just sit with it. Use it. Use it to connect with someone else. Right? The irony of human connection is that we are social creatures and we're strongest when we're together. However, to create strong bonds requires vulnerability.
Right. You're so right. And that was actually one of my questions about number 2. I'll just throw it out there. I think
Right?
about for me personally, when I am anxious, I need to talk about it. Like, it's how I process, it's how I regulate my nervous system. It really depends who I'm talking
There's a
to.
reason for that.
Yeah.
You're
Do tell.
human.
Right. Oh, okay, good point. Good point.
You're a
Newsflash,
healthy
everyone, I'm
person.
human. Yeah, and I mean, I think, well, it's interesting though because I see that as such a valuable thing for myself. Yeah, I have so many clients I work with who have, and maybe it's, because of scripts that they've been taught or
Mhm.
narratives from their past where they say, well, what good is it going to do?
Self-fulfilling prophecy. If you think that, then it won't do any good. And
Right.
also, that's a reason that's a reason to cover it up. Like a lot of people, it's hard. It's not easy to be vulnerable and speak about your anxiety. It's much easier to pretend that it's somebody else's fault than it's your problem. But
It's
it's true.
sometimes when I talk with folks about this, like actually sharing it, I remind them that by not sharing it, and I'm actually thinking of a client I just met with before you, so it's probably why she's top of mind right now,
Okay.
is that she'll create these almost whole like 10 cast member plays in her mind with a beginning, middle, and end, and
Mhm.
like all the different moving parts and all the effort that goes into how people are going to feel and how she's going to feel. And it's like no one else gets to have a say so. The anxiety creates this, as you said, kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy about whatever they're anxious about.
For sure. As opposed to just identifying what's really at the root of it and saying it very simply. You know, like, I really need your approval. I really am concerned about this medical test. I'm really terrified of failing and that this could fall on my head. And it does require being vulnerable and sitting with those emotions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been doing a lot of intensive couples therapy as part of my concierge mental health practice, couples and families. And all these individuals who come in, they usually, high net worth or ultra high net worth folks, and I'm spending 2 or 3 days with them. And the most transformative moments are always when there's tears in the room, there's a lot of raw emotion, and people are actually sharing what's really on their minds.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes 2-3 hours just to get people to drop their guard. But those are always the most restorative, connecting, powerful moments. If I could just go straight there, then I wouldn't have to spend 3 days. But usually it takes a minute for people to drop the armor, and that's what sharing's about. It doesn't have to be therapy like crying all the time. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
like, and you don't have to, but there has to be some sort of a connection. Like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. It could even be like, hey, I'm just really stressed out at work, or I'm stressed out about stuff at home. Like,
Right.
really normal, just having a conversation about your emotions as opposed to pretending they're not there.
And for anyone who's listening who's still thinking, well, that's not for me, that's not how I do emotions. I mean, there is science supporting this. There's science out there that says when we name something, it speeds up the amount of time it takes for us to feel better. There's science saying that when we are with others, our actual DNA can repair itself and longevity. Have you ever heard about the telomere studies?
Sure. Sure.
Right. So telomeres, I always describe it as like those little caps on the end of like a cable. They're responsible for our aging and our mortality and how healthy we are. And people, being with people is one of the most empowering ways for our body to kind of hold itself together. And you think about the way anxiety impacts our health. I could see how your number two could probably also have positive health
Health
implications.
consequences. It's interesting to
Yes.
say that. I just saw this the other day. Dr. Sue Johnson brings it down in her book, Hold Me Tight, which is a must read for anybody who has a
Oh, okay.
relationship with all human beings.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, Hold Me Tight, Sue Johnson. She talks about a study where a researcher used a suction cup on the wrist to create little bruises on the subjects. Nothing like super invasive, just not even
Like
painful.
cupping.
Yeah, like cupping, like a little
Yeah,
bit of
yeah.
like a small thing, and then looked at the response time to healing. And I think it was in females. These are partnered females, partnered people in partnered heterosexual relationships that happen to be for this study.
Right.
And when those said females, those subjects, could open up to their partner about their emotions and feel connected to them through the description of their feelings, the
Yeah.
healing time in those individuals was substantially less.
That's super cool.
She's got tons. There's like 3 or 4 studies, but that was just one that like I remember. She's
Yeah.
got one on MRI. Like there were a couple things about at the neural level, how the experience of pain. Oh, this is one. When individuals who are in connected, or she calls them secure, which is true, secure relationships, have a secure attachment bond that they can speak about the hard things and still remain connected.
Yeah.
When they are about to experience a pain response, like painful electric shocks, the areas of the brain associated with the pain response actually do not receive as much blood flow.
Really?
And yes, and the subjective experience of pain is much less. I mean, you've probably experienced this when you're having a great day and you're feeling in love, like, who cares about anything else?
Yeah.
Oh, doesn't matter. So our pain tolerance increases when we have secure attachment, and this step 2 is about how you use anxiety in a constructive way to create those secure attachments.
Right.
Exactly what it is.
I love that so much because it not only, I really appreciate it because like I said, I have some clients who haven't been modeled that and so they're
Sure.
resistant. And I can think of people in my life who haven't been modeled that and so they're resistant to it. And it's like you can tell
Yep.
someone till you're blue in the face, it's really going to help. It's really going to help. But when you say, no, actually, your body will respond differently to anxiety and to stress if you just practice Dr. Rosmarin step 2 and share your anxiety, share what it is.
It is admittedly hard. And,
Oh, sure.
I guess what I'll say is if you can't admit or acknowledge or divulge or share all of the vulnerable aspects of your anxiety, you can at least acknowledge, hey, I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
Something.
Just general.
Just general. And I think that that's important even in an employment context where people can say to their manager, like, I'm having a rough time at home. Don't want to get into details. and I can still do my work but like most of it, whatever it is, but like these are my emotions. You should be aware.
I like that too, because a lot of people question all the time, should I share with my employer that I
Right.
have ADHD, have this, have that.
Yeah.
So,
And it
um,
depends. But to be able to share some aspects of your emotions, like it's been hard for me to concentrate recently because of some
yeah,
stuff that's happening at home. I don't think
right.
it's going to interfere with my work, but I just wanted to let you know.
I mean, it makes sense too, because you think about when you're not sharing, you're doing more masking.
For
And
sure. It makes it
masking
worse.
is kind of the whole thing you're trying to help people not do with their anxiety.
Right.
I-
In some ways, that's the primary thing, is to
Right.
be authentic to whatever degree it makes sense.
Yeah.
Not to
So
pretend you
since we
care.
unpacked two, I want to go back to one,
Sure.
and then we'll just go to three and four after. When I heard about one, I loved it because it's natural to me. I think as a lot of therapists, this is something that we do, and hopefully we practice ourselves. But
Yes.
it got me thinking, it feels like a little bit of a slippery slope how if you don't have a therapist in front of you helping you, or if you don't have someone to connect with to do step one with, how do you prevent yourself from ruminating or going into a deeper spiral as you're trying to figure out what you're anxious about? Like, do you have any advice around that?
I think you might, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Okay.
Often people, are distracted completely from their anxiety using their devices and
Yep.
having all these negative thoughts about it. I tell people who are working on step one, you are going to feel a little bit more anxious,
Okay. That's
and that's fine.
reassuring to know that, so people know that they're not, quote, doing it wrong.
No, you're not doing it wrong at all. In fact, if I don't see anxiety increase when someone's involved in more discovery around it, then usually they're out of touch with what really is at the core of it. It's hard to think about failing. It's hard to think about being alone. So you're going to have more emotion as you allow we avoid a lot, not only behaviorally by not going to situations, but also cognitively. We push it out of our mind. We distract ourselves. We focus on everything else except for what we're anxious about. And step one is about identifying the root of it, and requires. Now, what you mentioned though is rumination. Like if somebody's getting caught in a loop and they can't get out and it's creating, yeah. So then for sure, therapy is something you need to get unstuck if it's interfering with your life. But if it's just a little bit of a bump in anxiety, like going from a 2 or a 3 because you're avoiding it to a 5 or a 6, great. You're on the right track.
I like that because, in a way, what I'm hearing you say is there's a bit of a difference between mindfully taking time to figure out what's wrong,
Mhm.
potentially wrong, versus what I think a lot of us do when we're ruminating is it kind of reminds me of a couple who's like arguing, and suddenly you're arguing about something that happened 10 years ago. And you're like, it's almost like you're thinking about the thing, but because you're
Yes.
not being mindful, you're pulling in all these other things to make the rumination like a bigger vortex, if you will. So I like how you're putting that. Like, it's like the mindfulness piece is very important in number one.
It is. There are definitely aspects of mindfulness in number one. I didn't use the word mindful. I was thinking about it at some point. I didn't because I think mindfulness is often misused. People
Totally.
people think about mindfulness as a way of calming your mind. It's actually not. It's actually not. It's a way of being more aware of whatever is on your mind. And if that's distress, you will feel more distressed. So I'm using different language than mindfulness, but it's 100% the correct concept. It's exactly what it is.
It kind of reminds me too. I don't know if you've probably heard of like somatic pendulation, where you kind
No,
of.
I haven't. Tell me.
Oh, okay. Well, I get to teach the teacher. So it's from Dr. Levine's work with somatic
I,
experiencing. And it's a method of purposefully bringing your nervous system into a state of distress for a short period of time
okay.
and then back out of the state of distress so that
I feel
you're.
for step 3.
Oh, okay. Well, perfect segue into step three then. But I mean, the whole premise of it is that you become, first of all, your nervous system becomes more acclimated
Yep.
to these ebbs and flows. You realize it's not going to last forever. That's a big one.
Yep.
And then there's also a sense of agency over it. Like I can
That's it.
pull myself in and out.
That's it. That's step 3. That's exactly what it is. I love how you broke it down like that. That's really helpful.
Oh, thanks.
Agency. desensitization, essentially, and a reframe of self-efficacy. That's exactly what exposure therapy builds, which is essentially number 3, building resilience.
So what would be an example of, you said that you had done step 3 recently. Like, how does that look for you? Because I'm thinking for people who hear step 1, it's like, okay, I think about the thing, I talk about the thing. Step 2, I talk to a person. Step 3 feels
Step
a
3 is
little,
embrace. Okay, so there's
what?
2 aspects of embrace.
Oh,
One is
okay.
step 3 is to embrace. One is when you feel anxious, not to squelch it or put it away, to let it ride. So don't fight it. Don't fight against it. Let it build you naturally and build your self-efficacy. I can handle this. And you can. You just let the anxiety happen, and you have a built-in system that will catch it and naturally make it more relaxed. It's called acetylcholine. It's a neurotransmitter, and it's released before adrenaline is released. So you have a natural cooling system built in to your physiology. Let it happen and let it ride. But the second aspect of embracing is to actually seek out situations that make you feel anxious and to do that.
It's funny you say that because I was very anxious about my TED Talk. I reached out to you
Oh, we
and
have
asked for coaching and kind of like asking like, okay, how did you memorize it? And how did you not, what happened if you changed things last minute? And you were so supportive, and I really appreciated
thanks.
that. So leading up to it, the last couple days before, I started cold calling people in my phone book without telling
Okay.
them what I was calling about. And
Okay.
then just saying, hey, do you got 12 minutes? And then when they said
I
yes,
love
I
it.
just started. I didn't even tell them what I was doing. I
Yeah.
just went for it because I wanted to kind of jack up my nervous
That'd be
system in
funny.
a way to acclimate to it.
And what happened?
I mean, I got through it.
It's on.
I didn't choke. I think I stayed in the room. I think I stayed present. There was one chunk that I forgot that it was like the scene. I managed to get it back in, but have you seen the movie Inside Out?
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Okay. It was like that movie was happening in my head. I'm talking and I'm doing the speech.
That's
And then
great.
in my head, all those little parts are like, okay, where are we going to put this back in? Does it make sense here? Does it make sense here? Like, so I had like 2 different parts of my brain. And then suddenly, finally, I was like, okay, here, this is the moment. I'm going to pull it back in. And as I pulled it back in, I'm really closely looking like, did I say this already? But I think it went really well. And I'm like, I didn't feel as nervous as I expected
That's
because
why.
I think I was trying to almost factory, like make it happen ahead of time, so to speak.
Yeah, you prepared for the moment, which is what embracing is about. Doing things that make you feel anxious. People always talk about resilient kids. We want resilient kids. We want kids who are really strong. We want kids who are able to handle, to have equanimity during difficult times. But how do you build resilience? It doesn't just happen. Parents, teachers, doctors, it doesn't just happen. If you're involved with
Right.
kids, well, they have to go through some challenge with supports and skills and be able to sweat it out and deal with it. You
I like
know,
that you said with supports because I had a really great conversation on here with a play therapist a while back.
and
And she works with highly sensitive children. And
uh-huh.
she said something that struck me that I had never thought about before. And it was that we do want our kids to go through hard things, but we also want to show up with empathy when they're going through the hard
Panic
thing.
refer it. It's not.
Yeah,
We don't want them to. I love them to, but that's the reality. Like
right.
building resilience takes. It would be like a coach who's not pushing their athlete
Mm,
on the gym floor. Like, that's
yeah,
not doing anyone any favors. Do you not believe in them? Do you not do you not
right.
care? Like, what? Why aren't you pushing them
Hmm.
to be the best that they can? But when you're like, go, 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 you got this. Like, I'm here. Like, hey, I noticed your stride was this way as opposed to that way. So
Hmm.
that's really the vibe.
Hmm.
Not to avoid the pain, the discomfort, the burn, and the challenge, but to embrace it and to help them live up to the moment.
Yeah. So if someone's listening, and a lot of people that listen to this podcast are highly sensitive or neurodiverse, and because it's very genetic, a lot of them have children
Yep.
who are highly sensitive or neurodiverse, maybe ADHD, autism, things along those lines. And there are so many social anxieties that
Yeah.
can crop up for kids, especially those who have sensitive nervous systems. How can you take your 4 steps, and we haven't even gotten to step 4 to unpack it more, but how can you take your 4 steps and help a parent help a child do it?
Yeah. So recently, Coca-Cola asked me the same question, and I put together a workshop for them on that topic.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, there's actually a free resource on my website that people can download, which is not the entire workshop, of course, but it's a 10-minute summary of some of the work that I did with them. There are a lot of anxious kids today, and helping children to face challenges in their lives is at the core of at least step 3. Obviously, identifying and sharing, and there's other pieces here.
Right.
But for social anxiety, I mean, listen, sometimes the kid's just not going to hack it at that sleepover, or they're not going to be able to make it on stage, or they're not going to, like, it's too much.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you don't go back the next week and help them to take whatever steps are necessary. If we protect them from the anxiety their whole life, they'll never build the resilience that they need and that we want.
It's funny. I'm reflecting back as a kid, as being a highly sensitive person. I remember in 5th grade, I have this very visceral memory of a chorus concert that I was in.
Yeah.
And I had a solo, which was like
Oh my God.
20 seconds. You know what I mean? Like it was like, but in my mind, it was Broadway. Like I was like, and the amount of physical anxiety, like the physicality of it, I can still feel it, was so intense
Yeah.
that I think as a kid, if someone had sat down and done these 4 steps with me, like said, okay, let's identify what you're feeling. Let's be in relationship. Let's learn how you can do the thing regardless. And I mean, I did the thing regardless. And I think that, like, to your point, paved the way for me to be able to deal with other,
Now you're a TEDx speaker. Yeah.
right, other stressful platforms and, stages. But I feel like sometimes there are going to be kiddos or even adults who don't have
It's true.
right. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
100% true. And it has to be at that person's level. I'm not saying to push people beyond their level. If you want to break a kid, go ahead and do that. But it has to be something that's a little bit of a reach. And yeah, it's really like a coach. I do distance running, and I have a running coach. And I get pushed, and it's a little bit beyond my reach. I was given reps the other day, like, at a pace that was probably about 10% faster than I should have been running.
Wow. 10%.
Air
That's a lot.
maybe it's more like 5%, but it would definitely, I felt that burn, and like we knew it was going to happen. And that was, as long as I know that it's going to be okay, nothing's wrong with me. The fact that I'm feeling this burn, this distress, this challenge, it doesn't say something about me. It's actually my opportunity to grow. It flips the script. But not everybody can hear that at all times. So you have to be mindful of that 100%. I'm not saying to punish, and it has to be voluntary. People have to want to do this.
Good point.
So that's really the goal. Can you get kids and ourselves to be willing to face that, to build that resilience and the self-efficacy that we all need?
Right. Well, it makes sense too, because I love how you have framed anxiety to not necessarily, while sometimes it is clinical, it's so normal.
Yeah. Do you know anybody who has no anxiety?
No. I think my dog is anxious. He is on Prozac, so.
That's bad. Well, I mean, I've seen it all over the time. I actually saw like a full pet behavioral, emotional evaluation of a pet the other day. It was the first time
Did you?
Yeah, one of my clients brought it, and I'd never seen it before. I'm still sort of processing it and figuring out what to make of it. But I guess to your point, like, this is woven into the neurobiology of creatures. Doesn't mean you're broken.
No. And so with the acceptance piece, to like ask one last question about this, I'd love to see what number 4 looks like too. Is it acceptance that I'm anxious, or is it acceptance that I can do the thing despite being anxious, or is it both?
Yes, both. and
Okay.
more. And also embracing the anxiety, seeking out the anxiety in order to build your emotional muscle tone.
Ooh, I like that. Emotional muscle tone. That's a good way of putting that.
It's exactly what it is.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So someone listening is feeling anxious. They are taking time to identify what it is, whether it be journaling, talking, taking a moment. They are in relationship, and maybe, and it sounds like too, maybe step two doesn't always happen.
It's so much harder to face your fears and to accept the distress if you haven't talked about it with someone else.
I agree. I'm also thinking of people who are really like so anxious, like PTSD, for instance, where people, especially complex PTSD, where
Yeah.
people are the thing we're anxious about. So being in relationship with a person is anxiety provoking even.
Yes, and being able to speak about that with someone else or
Yeah.
with them in a certain way is often necessary in order to tolerate the distress that you're going through.
Right. Okay.
Like
So
with
they,
the interpersonal, I put them in order for this reason. Like I think that the interpersonal connection, just once that's in place, it's so much easier
yeah.
with a secure connection with another human. Because then, like, if things go off the rails when you're facing the fear in step three, you have someone to call. Like, you're not on your own and in a really precarious emotional situation. And there's just a massive difference between those two.
Yeah. So if anyone's listening and they feel like they don't have a person, I just would encourage them, well, first of all, maybe to find a therapist.
Therapy. Yeah.
Therapy, even if it's, like a spiritual leader, a coach, just someone, if
100%.
they're,
So
yeah,
mentor, I'm all for it.
yeah. But also I sometimes say to the folks I work with, like, take a moment for any of you listening and just think of someone who has expressed that they want to be there for you, but you maybe haven't taken them up on it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And this might be the time to do that.
Love that.
Yeah. So we've gotten through the 3 steps. We're on to step 4. What's
Well, four,
happening here?
the hardest one.
Oh,
For,
great.
yeah, to let go.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
let go. This, ultimately, in our society anyway, anxiety boils down to control. One of the reasons we over medicalize and over medicate and over pathologize anxiety is because we want to be in control of our nervous system. We want to be in control of our emotions.
Good point.
Not going to happen. We want to be in control of our environment. And we have all these, accoutrements of the modern age in order to be able to create that, whether it's AI or whether it's, overhead lighting or whether it's HVAC systems or driving on engineered surfaces, you name it. But we ultimately don't have a lot of control. There's so much in this world that could go wrong that we have really no control over. Things happen out of the blue. Things happen without a lot. And anxiety in many ways is actually true because it makes us conscious of the fact that we are not always in control,
Interesting.
right? If I'm
Yeah.
in control, then like, why are you anxious?
True. There really wouldn't be a reason for
There's
it.
no reason at all. So the fact that I'm feeling anxious is actually that I'm coming into contact with the reality that I'm not in control.
Huh. So what
Can
do you do?
let go. I'm not in control. That's okay. I'm not supposed to be. What am I supposed to be in control over? The work that I have to do, putting my best foot forward, trying to stay focused on my values, putting my relationships first. But the actual outcome of the things that I want to do in this world, that's beyond my pay grade.
Do you think there's any room for like self-efficacy with these are the things I'm not able to control, but I'm going to give you an example, a personal example.
Great.
I have young children. I
Yeah.
live in America and they go to school.
Yes. Classic.
And I cannot help, and I know I can't help is I don't know how you feel about that statement when I think about an anxiety. How do you feel when someone says I can't help but feel dot dot dot?
I don't know what you're about to say. So
Okay,
let's
okay.
give
I
it a
can't
choice.
help but feel a little nervous or concerned for their
Yeah.
safety when they go to school.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a limit to what you can do.
Definitely.
And it's terrifying.
It is. And I will say there's this moment, there's something, well, I mean, actually that's what my whole TED Talk is focused on. So maybe I'm trying to do something to control it. I can't control it. But I remember going to the school one day and I was going to pick up my daughter for something, and like a Grubhub person just kind of breezed right in and dropped some food off and then left. And
Yep.
I had this moment where I was like, why are they allowed to do that? Like, that's not okay. So, admittedly, I contacted the principal and I said, hey, you have a lockdown facility, but yet people can just buzz on in who you don't know. And the next time I went, they had a table outside
Okay.
for the Grubhubbers. Just so for me, that was a moment where I had something I could do. There was something actionable I could do about my nervousness and my anxiety. But that's to the extent I can't stop the state of the country.
That's exactly the point. You embrace your humanity, which is your lack of ability to really deal with the larger situation, but you also
Right.
did what you could.
Right.
So your anxiety motivated you to do what you can, but it didn't overtake you. So you were consumed trying to control a world that is not under your thumb.
I love that because I think what we just talked about, this is almost like an example of why we need anxiety.
Yes, that's exactly the point. But tell me why.
Well, I mean, because if you think about it, without any level of anxiety, I mean, I wouldn't even get up in the morning
I
for
wouldn't
work.
care.
Yeah. Be like, whatever, alarm. No one needs to go to school. We're fine.
Yeah, it should sharpen you enough to get you doing what you need to do and not interfere with overwhelming you to the point that you're focused on stuff that is just beyond your control.
Yeah. So, what would you say, in your opinion, for you personally, or that you've seen, are practices or things that people do that help them let go?
It's a good question. Yeah, maybe this is why it's the hardest one for me.
Yeah.
Is why it is hard to scaffold because the minute you start to scaffold it, then you're actually in creating control or trying to control. And then there's an aspect here where you just don't have it, and it requires really embracing the anxiety. I think a couple things, thinking about your vulnerability in this world and how much you can't control, and actually learning to be at peace with that is an aspect. It's
Yeah.
scary. It's terrifying, like I said before. But therein lies the opportunity to build humility and perspective and to focus on what's truly important.
I can see why you did the order you did again, because the third of the acceptance and the embracing part, it
Mhm.
seems like if you've gone through step 3 and you've truly worked on embracing, then step 4, not that it's easy at all, but it seems like it would be easier.
Yes, it
That
is.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
someone doesn't do any of these steps and they are just into the throes of anxiety and it's sweeping them away, I've heard you
Well, first of all, I've never met anybody who doesn't do any of them. I think at some point people crack, so to speak, and then they'll open up to someone.
Oh,
And
yeah.
whether that's on a psych ward or on the subway or to a therapist or to a friend or like
Yeah.
whatever it is, like I think at some point we're all like, okay, this is what's really going
Yeah.
on. And also sometimes things have to come to a head before you can actually identify what you're really upset about.
True.
But eventually, usually it's like, okay, I have clarity now. Like that was so intense. I couldn't stop. And same thing with embracing. Like people eventually, everybody faces some aspect of anxiety and distress in their lives. We don't live, it's very rare that you have people who are like completely pampered in every aspect of their life and never face adversity at all. And there are aspects, I think, where most people will say like, yeah, it's just like when you sit on a plane and you allow the cabin door to close and the cockpit door closes and you're sitting there as a passenger, you are letting
Yeah.
go.
A lot.
So a lot, like you're traveling at 500 miles an hour, at 23,000, 25,000, 30,000 feet. Like talk about
Yeah.
vulnerable. So I think we all do parts of it. The question is, are we doing it consciously, deliberately, in order, in response to our anxiety, and seeing these as really tools to help use anxiety in a constructive way, as opposed to trying to get rid of it, which just makes things worse.
You know what I love about your example of the airplane is that statistically speaking, the likelihood of anything happening is so marginal. which is why I think the old school mentality around fighting anxiety that, I mean, I've been in this field for a couple decades now, so I've seen the evolution of the field. And I
There's,
remember early on anxiety being looked at something that you were supposed to use like thought stopping and rationalizing and kind of like
yep.
truth versus false, like true falsing. And it's just like, well, I mean, if you look at the airplane, if you try to stop your thoughts and you try to just rationalize and look at the statistics, it still doesn't take out the fact that you're vulnerable,
Right. There's
right?
some vulnerability.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
So let's say hypothetically someone isn't employing the steps as well as they could have, and it's impacting them in a negative way. So you just kind of self-disclosed for a moment though. You were saying like me. How do you know you're not following the 4 steps well?
I mean, I catch myself on it all the time. Um,
Mm,
I catch myself on it all the time. There's,
mm,
I mean, I have to think it through, but like, I think earlier this month, I was really, bent out of shape about something and I wasn't really aware of it until earlier this week. And then I was able to talk about it.
mm-hmm.
And there were a couple reasons why I wasn't able to focus on it. Like there were some legit things that just made it very hard for me to spend the time and sort of have the emotional wherewithal to really process it the way I needed to.
Right.
So it wasn't for lack of trying on my part, but it's a process. And then once I sort of clicked and then was able to share it, then things have been a lot better. We all get off and on track, but at least
Of
I have a counter.
course. Yes, and that
Feel
truly
that.
is what your 4 steps are. And I don't think I have, aside from maybe some like acceptance commitment therapy type stuff,
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever, which I imagine some of those theories kind of supported your work.
Yeah. When you were speaking about the evolution of psychotherapy, I was thinking that, what you were invoking was really cognitive therapy,
Yep.
Aaron Beck, maybe a rational emotive behavior therapy, Albert Ellis a little bit, like the disputing thoughts and stopping thoughts. And
Hmm.
then the behavior therapy really is the aspect of facing anxiety and exposure therapy. So that's their acceptance being that like we just have to learn to sit with it and not touch it and like learn to be okay with it. I think
Hmm.
I'm taking things a one notch further,
I agree.
which is bifurcating between clinical anxiety, which is a problem, and then the non-clinical anxiety, and using the latter actually as fuel, which is
Hmm.
really a positive psychology clinical approach. And that's
Yeah.
hasn't I don't think it's been done in this way. So yeah,
Well,
that's where we're
not
at.
certainly not in such an easy to understand way. I mean, that's what
For
I
sure.
just truly love about it. And I really feel like so many people will start to actually feel like they have something they can do
Thanks.
to help themselves. So I really appreciate that and the work that you're doing. Um,
It's
for
funny. I'm always nervous talking about this stuff. I gave a talk earlier, actually earlier this week to the New York Times, and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
man,
cool.
this is
Congrats.
I'm like, this is a discerning audience. Like, I'm kind of
Yeah.
nervous getting up, and like, are they going to be into this approach, or are they going to say, oh no, it's pop psych, I'm not
Hmm.
really understanding the pathology of it. But like, I've been working in acute psychiatry, like I've been working in outpatients, like I really have seen and been in the trenches.
Yeah.
And I really got great feedback. I was nervous for the talk. I was anxious. But I got good feedback. I think it's just a human thing. We have to learn
Yeah.
to stop pathologizing ourselves for having normal
Hmm.
emotions and learning how to use them in a constructive way. It's kind of just a basic missing thing from our society.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a touch of imposter syndrome or something.
I guess so. I think that's probably, related to my deep-seated anxiety of fear of failure, which I spoke about in my TEDx, if I'm
Hmm.
being honest. And yeah, I've spoken about that, and I own it.
What do you think if someone is listening and they're like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do the 4 steps, but I have imposter syndrome? How would you apply it to that? Because I feel like that's a type of anxiety.
How do I apply it to my imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta be more aware. Like I'll tell you this, I was having a conversation with my wife this week about how when she values my professional accomplishments, that means a lot to me. Much more than when other people do. Like I don't,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I've got a curriculum vitae and like, I get the accolades from Harvard and all that blah, blah, blah
Yeah.
stuff. At the end of the day, when I come home, that's what really matters.
I can relate to that. It's,
Of
if
course,
anything,
yeah.
too, sometimes do you ever feel more awkward if it's coming from someone else? But if it's coming from your partner, it's like, oh, it's so
And it's
good.
real.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
knows me.
yeah. That's a good point. It's
The
just like,
people at work
it's
don't know
fully
me.
real.
They don't really know me. I mean, they know of me. They know of my work, but like they
Right.
don't actually see how I interact. Like it's not, you know,
Yeah.
if I was a total fake and phony, then they wouldn't know, but she would. She's really well.
And rest assured, she would call you out if any
And
of
of
these
course she
steps
would.
were not helpful.
Like any partner, and the reason is because when you're partnered, then what person's doing, their choices matter. So she needs to,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is good and healthy in some way, in a gentle, careful, wonderful way. So yeah, so that was a conversation we had this week, if you really want to know, and that's kind of helpful.
And I like that too, because you were saying about her being like a safe and healthy person. I think anyone
Thank God.
listening, thinking about number two, like you do want to make sure, like I think of Brene Brown's, that really awesome Netflix special she did that I recommend all the time, where she talks about like choosing people who are living life the way you admire, that you would want to be living, like that you want their feedback and their critique. Those are the people to like be seeking support from versus someone who's going to criticize you or
100%.
admonish you for your anxiety.
100%. You can't do this with everyone. You can't be that raw and vulnerable with everyone.
Right.
But we all need one or two people in our lives who we can be vulnerable or raw and vulnerable with. If that's your partner, then you're blessed, and I happen to be in that category. If you're not, then find someone, whether it's a therapist, anybody, someone on the street, and do whatever it is. Open up. You got it. We all need it.
Well, for anyone listening who wants to maybe stay connected to you, perhaps because they feel they really resonate
I'm
with your
here.
approach. And yeah, I was curious, where should they find you? What kind of things do you have out there in the universe that they can use
Sure.
and continue finding support? Because that's the other thing I think why honestly things like these platforms and these conversations are so helpful is that sometimes someone who might feel alone and doesn't have someone that they feel safe reaching out to, they can listen to other people who really do care about their mental health. And we're here saying like you matter and your anxiety matters and what you're worried about matters.
Yeah, you are not alone. If you're hearing this podcast and you think you're alone, you're not. Like
Yeah.
well, this is very human. This is as human as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally here to help people in their journey. My team actually recently put together a masterclass with the 4 steps, which
Oh,
is
cool.
yeah. So that's 20 videos. They're really short. They're like between 3 and 10 minutes each.
Mm-hmm.
So digestible. Not really digestible, clear sort of pathways. And
Right.
there are 4 modules, 5 videos for each. So people really get some scaffolding on how to identify and share and embrace and let go, the hardest one, with some exercises to boot. So people can check that out on my website. And I'm on the social platforms. I'm on posting on a regular basis. I love when people reach out to me through the website and through social. I also have an email that goes out to over 20,000 people or so.
Oh,
So
great.
join that. I try to keep it under 250 words, really digestible,
Short and
clear.
sweet.
Yeah, short, sweet, simple, and all focused on not getting rid of your anxiety, on how to use your anxiety for
love
a
that.
constructive way. Yeah. If you want to get rid of your anxiety, I'm not your guy.
But if you want to identify, share, embrace, and let go,
And use it in a constructive way, then
use
bring
it
it
in a
on.
constructive way,
I'm right
you
here.
are the guy to call. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, Dr. Rosmarin, thank you so much for coming and joining me again on the Sensitivity Doctor. And I really, truly hope that everyone listening heard a little bit of themselves in this conversation and or maybe someone you care about that you're supporting with anxiety because we
For sure.
all have it. So thank you again and be well, everyone.
Thank you.